Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be making a shrimp pad thai. So we're going to start off by making our sauce. So I have a small bowl and I'm going to start with some brown sugar. I have squeezed a fresh lime. I have some white rice vinegar, some light soy sauce, I have some fish sauce, I have some oyster sauce, I have some sriracha sauce. I'm going to add some water and then I'm going to mix it out. Once I have this sauce fully mixed up thoroughly, I'm just going to set it aside and we're going to go on to our next step for this recipe. So now that we have our sauce completed for our pad thai, we're now going to start cooking the main ingredients of this recipe. So we're going to start off, we have a wok where we are heating it up and we're going to add some olive oil. You can also use avocado oil. This time I'm going to be using some olive oil. And I'm going to start heating up some scallions and some garlic. So we have chopped up our scallions to a fine piece as well with the garlic. So we're going to start off with heating these two up until they're a little soft, and then we can add in our next ingredients. Now that our onions and our garlic has been cooking for a while, we're going to now add in some shredded carrots. You can also cut these very fine, but I figured this might be an easier way and it would cook faster. So we're just going to add in the carrots. And we're going to have this cook for a few minutes and then we're going to go and add in our next ingredients. So we're just going to mix this around where it's nice and fully blended with the ingredients that I've put in so far. So we're just going to, that's how it should look. We have them nice and fine, so we're just going to cook the carrots for about 3 to 4 minutes. So now that our carrots have been cooking for about 3-4 minutes, I'm just going to push the carrots and the garlic and the scallions onto the side, leaving one of the portions empty. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit more of my oil. And I'm going to fry my shrimp. Now I've washed and I've cleaned them. I've taken off the shell and I've made sure that all of the inner parts of the shrimp are nicely cleaned out. So we're just going to add in our shrimp and cook those. So we're going to make sure our shrimp are nicely cooked on both sides. And then once they turn to the orange color fully, then I know that they are complete. And then I'm going to mix all of the ingredients together. So I'm just going to make sure that our shrimp is nicely cooked. And then once these are done, we'll add in our next ingredients. So we want to make sure that our shrimp have a nice color, a nice cooked. And it will also cook a little longer as we continue to add in more ingredients. So if you feel the middle is not cooked, don't worry, it will get cooked as we continue to add in more ingredients for this recipe. Alright, so they're nicely cooked on all sides. It doesn't take long to cook the shrimp. And we're now going to mix the carrots and the shrimp all together. Once we have this cooking for another minute, we're going to add in our next ingredients. So now that our carrots and our shrimp have been cooking for a while, we're now going to push everything to the border of our wok. We're going to create a well in the middle. And what we're going to do now is we have 3 eggs that we have beaten, and we're going to put that in the center, and we're going to scramble them in the middle of the pan. So we're going to make sure that the eggs get nicely cooked and scrambled in the middle. And once that is fully cooked, then we can mix all the ingredients again. So we're going to let the eggs cook. And once that's done, we'll go on to our next step. So now that our eggs are fully cooked and the texture is like a scrambled egg, we can now mix in the carrots and the shrimp and all the ingredients that we have already put into the wok. So we're gonna mix it all up to make it sure it's a nice balance of all the ingredients that we've put in. And then now we're going to add in our bean sprouts. Now that that's cooked, we have washed our bean sprouts, and now we're going to put in all of our bean sprouts and then mix this up into the ingredients that we have. There we go, it's nicely mixed up, and then we're going to go on to adding our next ingredients. Alright, so we're going to continue to mix up the bean sprouts, and now that they have been cooking, we can now add in the sauce that we prepared earlier. So now we're going to stir in our sauce, and then we're going to let this cook for about 2 minutes until the sauce gets thickened. Gonna make sure there's a nice balance to the sauce throughout the whole recipe. Some more. And then after 2 minutes, we're going to add in our noodles, and then we are going to prepare the garnishes for our pad thai. So now we have our pad thai cooking in the sauce that we've created, and we're going to allow it to thicken so that it's not so watery. And once that's done, we're going to add in our noodles. What I'm going to do right now though is I'm going to set this aside before I put my noodles in so that my noodles don't get overcooked, because I want to roast the garnishes that are going to go on top. I got some raw peanuts, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roast them just onto a small frying pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this aside, and we're going to put it back on the burner. But before we do, we're just going to roast the peanuts. So I'm just going to rest that aside. I'm going to use a small pan. I'm going to let that heat up, and then I'm going to add in the peanuts so that they can nicely get roasted. You can also roast them in the oven. I'm just going to do it a quick way just on top of the burner here. So now that I have the peanuts nicely roasted, I'm just going to set those aside because these are going to be the garnish for our pad thai. So I'm just going to rest that aside, and I'm going to put my main ingredients back on the burner so that we can heat it up. And we're going to continue boiling the sauce that we put inside, and then once this is done, we're going to put in our noodles. We have pre-cooked our noodles. We have chosen a rice noodle thinner than the pad thai ones. This is a little different than what the ingredients calls for. So I just chose a thinner rice noodle, and what I've done is I put it in a glass bowl. I boiled some water, and then I just poured it on top, and I let it rest in there until the noodles were almost fully cooked, so that we can complete them inside of the wok. So we're gonna cook this for a little longer until our sauce is a little thicker, and it seems like it has. So now I'm going to be throwing in my noodles. And like I said, I chose a thinner noodle than the pad thai. It is a rice noodle, the same as a pad thai noodle, but they're just a little thinner than what the pad thai ingredients calls for. So I'm just going to put my noodles, and then I'm going to mix all the ingredients up because everything is now fully cooked. And I'm just going to stir all the ingredients up so that it mixes nicely throughout all of the noodles. So once this is fully mixed in and cooked, we're going to plate it, and then I have its garnishes ready. So I roasted the peanuts. I have some washed and chopped cilantro, and I have some fresh lime that will just go on top of the noodles once ready to eat. There we go. So we have the noodles nicely mixed with all the ingredients. So I'm just going to let it sit there. And there we go. So like I said, we're going to plate it. And then we have some cilantro, some fresh lime. The cilantro. And I roasted some peanuts to go on top. You can also put tofu in here. It's quite known for tofu. This is a shrimp pad thai. You can also go fully vegetarian. It's up to you. If you like this recipe and you want to see more like this, please subscribe to our channel. Hit that share, like, and that bell notification.